Hey there, long time no talk musicians. So I thought it was a time for another video, and I think we're gonna take this in a kind of a weird discussion, but hopefully one that maybe some of you have thought about. And basically, I want to highlight the importance of skill, or rather, the importance of like training with a formal music education versus being self-taught, and is there like any gray area, or is it one better than the other, and where do you feel that you would best fit? And I think I may get a little bit of heat for this one, but it could shed some light on the topic a little bit, and it also hits me on an emotional level. I think it's just because mostly music theory is something that always escapes me. You know, I've actually tried professional music training at one point, but nothing was sticking. And honestly, even now, this is something that I would like to get into again. I think maybe after I get my degree and everything like that, I definitely want to go back and try maybe learning classical piano or jazz, particularly jazz, to be honest. But let me stay on topic. So, as reckless as this may sound, I do not think you need to be formally trained in music in order to become a composer. But now, having said that, I still do believe that you can benefit greatly from having knowledge of music theory. Even if it's just the fundamentals, it can still give you a huge boost. I can't speak for everyone though, but like, from my perspective, I've never really had that formal training, but it didn't stop me from practicing crazy amounts of hours. And just a little bit of backstory, like Final Fantasy IX. Like, Final Fantasy IX was the game that I played where I knew that I had to write music for video games. I knew with every piece of my being that now it was just beyond a passion. It was a call to action. It was a mission. I knew I was going to do it. I just had no idea how I was going to do it. And then, funny enough, I played the clarinet a little tiny bit in middle school, but you know, and I loved it, and I thought I was pretty decent at it. But other than that, I had no real music or composing experience. So my thought was, since I was so into music at this time, I was gonna ask for a piano, like a cheap Casio keyboard, for Christmas. And my parents definitely bought it for me, and they were really confused as to why I wanted it. But, you know, fast forward a little bit, after hitting a few keys and playing around with it, I started to think it was a good point to start really learning how to use the instrument. So at that time, YouTube was growing really quickly, and there were tons of piano tutorials online, and I'll never forget the work of a YouTuber. He's still online now. His name is Liper. And it was there where I learned the basics of chord progressions, and I learned like minor and major scales, and I learned how to play simplified versions of video game soundtracks because of it. And this just helped me to stay focused, and it motivated me to get even better. So this is not like any real formal education, I guess, but maybe it is, you know. And I kept these habits up until I was ready to create songs on my own, and I created simple arrangements of existing songs. But just so we're not confused here, like, I want to be very upfront and transparent about this. These originals that I were creating were terrible. Like, these simple arrangements and like semi remixes at the time were completely garbage, absolutely horrible. But it wasn't like a bad thing, right? It was helping me learn the importance of the basics and just learning and grasping the fundamentals. So at a certain point, I just started creating tunes that made a lot more sense, right? They say music is the universal language, so I treated it just as if you were learning a new language. And if you're learning a new language, you have to immerse yourself in it. You have to speak the language as often as possible, and you've got to hear it, you've got to listen to it from other native speakers. And I just think of music composition in the same way. Learn from the people that have done it, right? But also have the tenacity and patience and persistence to keep at it. And you'll see amazing results over time, regardless, right? Now, most times, like, in my inbox, people say, hey, well, do I need to go to school for music? And they wonder, like, what the cost of entry into composing is. And admittedly, I don't have the largest portfolio in the world, but of all the projects that I've been on, none of the clients have ever asked me what school I went to. No one cares who my teacher was. They don't care how many hours I've practiced. No one even asked what degree I had. Just nobody cared, right? It was a topic of discussion that was never really brought up. The only thing that they were concerned about was just the final result of the matter. Like, could you do it? Like, could you make the deadline for this project? I want this to be done by this time. Thank you so much, right? And I kind of like that, right? Because it didn't give me a handicap. And at first I thought it did, but no one really cares. I guess the only people that would probably care are other musicians, but I mean, that's their opinion, and it doesn't really have a real effect on you. Do I think school is mandatory? Of course not. But can a formal education help? Of course, without a doubt, right? And I would never doubt that. I definitely still do want to take classes after, like, I don't know, a little while. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of time to breathe and relax and just be free from school for a little while, and then I'll find a teacher somewhere. I don't know, look at Craigslist or something, wherever they lurk. I'll just pick one. But truthfully, I just think being self-taught comes with a lot of advantages. Maybe people don't realize it, or they take it for granted, but when you're self-taught, you're less likely to play by the rules, right? You might have these unorthodox techniques that can really create unique melodies, and these can become your signature. Now, I wouldn't worry too much if you don't have the time or resources to have a formal education, but if you're going to take that route, you have to practice a lot. You have to practice a lot, because if you don't have a teacher, there are times when you don't know when you'll do something wrong, and it might take you a little bit longer to find out your mistakes, and that is a fact, right? You may be hitting the wall a few times and not understanding why it's happening. But in reverse, I've actually met people who have had a formal education in music theory, and you would not believe how lost some of them can be when they don't have a music sheet in front of them. And this is like really crazy, because I've thought this would never exist, but like I would see someone who can play Mozart and Rachmaninoff like nothing. But if you remove the music sheet, they cannot create anything original. It just doesn't happen. Which is I feel like, wow, this is amazing, but it's basically everyone's kind of balanced in a sense, right? If you're a self-taught musician, you shouldn't be ashamed, you shouldn't be like hesitant on becoming one. I think you should just embrace it and try and share your gift, your talent, your unique signature style with the world. It's not gonna probably be super groundbreaking, but you just never know. You just never know, and that's how I feel about it. And I'm always up for discussion about this kind of thing. Let me know how you feel in the comments about it. And that's it. As always, take care and happy composing, guys. I always like to have talks about this stuff. It's kind of deep, but if you're a self-taught musician, let me know. And in reverse, if you have a formal education in music, let me know. We can have a talk about it. All right? Take care till next time, and cheers.